Stop constructing. Do this with me. So for 3-7, we are going to be doing a lot with slope. So we need to do a little refresher on what slope is. Keep in mind, slope is always the letter M in an equation. Can anyone tell me another way that we often refer to slope? Rise over run, okay? So your slope is going to be rise over run. Keep in mind, when you do a slope, your rise can go up or down, okay? If it's positive, it's going to go up, Ryan. If it's negative, it's going to go down. But your run always goes to the right, okay? So up or down, but then move to the right so that you don't negate your negative or positive, okay? The equation that we're going to use for slope, maybe you've seen this before too. In fact, I know you have. Oops. Y2 minus Y1 over X2 minus X1, okay? So we're going to be doing some finding of slopes. I'm not actually going to do all 4 of these graphs with you right now. You're welcome to try them on your own. I'm going to do a couple of them with you. But let's look at this first graph, okay? If I want to just count my rise over run, I can do that if I pick 2 points that fall perfectly on the grid. Okay, so like those 2 red points right there. If I want to figure out the slope, you start at the point farthest left and you move to the right with it. So rise would be up 2, run would be over 3. So up 2 over 3 gives me a slope of 2 over 3. Okay, so to find the slope, you would say 2 over 3. Okay, now I'm going to move down because I want you to see this one below it. If I put a point here and a point here, so a point at 2, 2 and a point at negative 2, 4, and I want to know the slope, again, you have to start at the point that's farthest left. So if I start at this point that's farthest to the left, rise over run means I go where first? Up and down, and in this case it would be down. So we're going to go down 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 to the right. So down 2 is a negative 2. To the right 4 is a positive 4. So your slope is negative 2 over 4. What is negative 2 over 4? Negative 1/2. You always want to reduce it. Okay, so my slope here is a negative 1/2. So if you want to try those other 2, you're welcome to try those other 2 just to feel it out. You should be getting a slope of 3 here, and you should be getting a slope of negative 2 for that other one if you want to try those out. Okay, what if you have points and no graph? What are you going to do to find the slope? You're going to use those points with your x1, y1, x2, y2, okay? I highly recommend that you label your points, because when you don't, maybe you don't, but so many people mix up x's and y's and 1's and 2's, and there's no need for that, okay? So I would label them. Call this x1, y1. Call this x2, y2, and find the slope, okay? Could I switch my x1, y1 with my x2, y2? Yeah, you can. As long as your 1's stay together and your 2's stay together, you can flip them, okay? So we're going to do y2 minus y1, so 4 minus 7, over x2, negative 1, minus x1, so negative 1 minus a negative 3. And then simplify that. What's minus a negative? Plus a positive. So this is going to be 4 minus 7 is a negative 3. Negative 1 plus 3 is 2. Can you reduce that? No. So you're going to leave it just like that. Okay? Work out that next one for me on your own. Find the slope on number 3. What do you get? Okay, so if we call this x1, y1, and x2, y2, it's going to be 10 minus 2, okay? I'll tell you right now where a lot of people mess up on this process is they'll go 2 minus a negative 6. You'll never subtract the two that are in the same point, okay? It's got to be the y minus the y, the x minus the x. So 10 minus 2, and then negative 7 minus a negative 6. So 10 minus 2 is 8. 7 minus a negative 6 is negative 1. And 8 divided by negative 1 is not negative 1, is negative 8. You might have done that differently, right? Maybe yours came out to a negative 8 over 1, but notice that's the same number, so you're okay if you flipped your numbers around. Questions on that? Okay, we're not going to do number 4. If you want to do number 4, you go right ahead, but I feel like we're pretty good there. Here's what I want to do. We're going to talk slope a little bit. So I'm going to do 4 coordinate planes with 4 graphs on them and see if you can tell me a little bit about their slope. So let's say we have this line, we have that line, this line, and that line. Okay? Can you tell me anything about that first picture? It's going up. What do you think that means about its slope? It is a positive slope. Okay, so what about the second one? That's a negative slope. Okay, and then here's the two that often get mixed up. What is the slope of a horizontal line?
0.
It is 0, okay? A horizontal line has a 0 slope, and a vertical line has an undefined slope. It's all coming back. Okay? If you forget that, don't just guess, okay? You can figure it out. If I want to find the slope of a line, I do y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So think about on this line. If I have a point at, say this point is 0, 3, and this point is 2, 3, I can plug that into the slope formula, and I'm going to get 0 divided by 2, which is 0, right? So my slope is 0. But if I do that on a vertical line, so say this is 4, 0, and this is 4, negative 2. Now if I plug it into slope formula, I get negative 2 over 0. If you plug that into your calculator is going to say syntax error or something like that. You can't do it, right? That's the one that's undefined. You cannot divide by 0, which is why we say undefined, okay? So don't feel like you have to memorize it because you do have a formula that will tell you which one's which, but it's better if you just keep it memorized. The way I tell people to remember it, horizontal, right? What? Oivox.
It's like H-O-Y and then V-O-X.
Think about like didn't they like teach you when like it's like a ball on the wall?
Like learned this last
and like the ball will like fall off the wall.
Bro,
going
where did
straight
you
down.
learn yellow?
Somebody told us we have like it's undefined because like you don't know how the ball's gonna fall off the wall. Somebody told me that we should.
I've never heard that. And what the heck is oivox?
It's like horizontal and then it's Y. Or no. Yeah. It's like
Oh, because it's y equals. Horizontal is y equals.
Hey, bro. Yeah, John.
Box? The vertical. Oh, vux?
Is that
oh yeah.
X is vertical.
That'll come in handy later. Okay, anyway. Why aren't we letting me zoom? Okay. So there's two forms that we're going to deal with today, and you're going to have to graph both of them. By the way, if you ever want graph paper, if you're not a Graph It and Notability person, or you don't want to print your own graph paper at home, you're welcome to that graph paper anytime you want. It's on the top shelf. Take what you need. Please don't take 20 pieces. You won't use 20 pieces. You'll need like one, and you'll be good. Okay, so the two different forms that we're going to be graphing, the first one is slope-intercept form. Do you remember what slope-intercept looks like?
Y equals mx plus b.
Yes. Okay. What is m?
The slope.
That is the slope of the line. So that's how far you're going to rise and run. What is the b?
The base.
Not the base.
I don't know.
It's the y-intercept. It's where you hit your y-axis, right? That's what a y-intercept is. Excuse me. So slope-intercept form, okay? That's one of the forms you're going to do. The other form is point slope. Does anyone remember this one? This is the one that gets forgotten much quicker.
Y, and it's x parentheses at the end.
It is x parentheses at the end. So it's y minus y1 equals m
Parentheses, x2.
x1. Okay? So in point slope form, this is the y coordinate of your point. This is the x coordinate of your point. And then m is still your slope. Okay? Okay, your paper I got before changes were made to it. So number 5 here, we're gonna graph two different lines on the same paper. On the same graph. So yours only has one line written in there. You're gonna wanna write this line in, and I'm gonna color code them since there's two on the same graph. I'm gonna do the first line in red and then the second line in purple. Okay, so if you're a color coder like I am, you can do that. All right. How do you graph in slope-intercept form? So this first one, that's slope-intercept form, right? Where do you move first when you're doing slope-intercept? Hey, I'm up here. You plot the y-intercept first, okay? So my y-intercept is the 1. So I'm going to move up 1 and put a point there. From there, then you can do your slope, and your slope is 2/3. So you're going to move up 2 and then to the right 3. So up 2, 1, 2, 3 to the right would put me right here. And then you're going to draw that line in. If you want to do one more point, just for accuracy's sake, you're welcome to. You don't need to. I'm fine if you just leave it like that. Okay? How do you plot point slope? And this is the one that I see the most mistakes on because it is a little bit unique. Okay? If you think about point slope, the equation is y minus your y1 value equals m times x minus your x1 value. Okay? So if I'm saying y minus my y1 value, what is my y1 value? Positive. It's 3, right? So if I'm naming a point here, that is my y value. So not only is it the opposite of what it looks like, it's coming first, but you're writing it second. Okay? So this is going to be a positive 3 because of that 3 right there. What is your x coordinate going to be? -3. So it's always the opposite of what it looks like because of that 3. Okay? So -3, 3. And then your slope is -2. So what you do is you plot -3, 3 right here. And then you do a slope of -2. Where do you move for a slope of -2? Down 2 to the right 1. Okay? And then you can draw that line in. Okay? Okay, so let's look at this equation. Number 6, the slope-intercept form. Where do you go first? You're going to go down 2. Make sure you don't go left 2. A lot of times people see a y-intercept and they put it on the x-axis instead. You want it on the y-axis. So you're going to go down 2, plot the point right there. And then where do you move from there? Down 1 to the right 4. So down 1, 1, 2, 3, 4 to the right. Put another point there. And then you can draw that line in. Okay. Last one of these graphs. I'm going to do this one in blue. So y minus 2 equals a negative 1/3 times x minus 4. So we have to figure out what is our point and what is our slope. What's our slope for this line? Negative 1/3 is your slope, okay? And now your point, be careful. What is it? Remember, we do our y's first, right? But it's a y value. Positive 2, but it's your second number. That's going to go here, okay? And then what about this one? Positive 4, okay? So your point is 4, 2. Opposite of what it looks like and flipped of where you would think it would be, okay? So 4, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Puts us here, and then a slope of negative 1/3 would go down 1 to the right 3. Take your straight edge, draw the line in. Okay, questions on that? All right, moving right along. We're gonna write 3 equations. The first one, a slope of 3 and a y-intercept of 5. Actually, let's put a little negative there. Y-intercept of negative 5. What's that going to look like? Just the equation. Just write the equation. Y equals what? So it's mx plus b, right? So 3, you don't have to put the 1 in, just 3x. And then if it's a negative 5, you would go minus 5. If it was the positive 5, so how you see it there, it would be this. So, sorry. My ruler gets in the way sometimes, sorry. So y equals 3x plus 5 if it's positive, minus 5 if it's negative, okay? What if they say it passes through this point and has a slope of 2? Which form do you think we're going to put that in? Point slope, right? You have a point and you have a slope. Okay, so if we're going to put this into point slope, this is x1, y1. This is m, and we just drop those into point slope form. So it's going to be y plus or minus?
What?
Minus what? Minus 5, right? Y minus your y1 value, so y minus 5 equals the slope 2 times x plus or minus? Plus, because it's minus a negative 1, right? So minus a negative becomes plus a positive. So y minus 5 equals 2 times x plus 1. Okay? Okay, now the one that takes a little extra effort here. You have 2 points. Are we going to put it into point slope or slope intercept? I would do point slope, okay? So what do we have to find? You have to find the slope. So you're going to use those 2 points to find slope. So your slope is going to be y2 minus y1, so 4 minus 2, over x2 minus x1, so 2 minus 6. So when you plug that in, you get 2 over negative 4, which is a negative 1/2. Okay, that's m. Now you have options. You have 2 points. You may use either one. So whatever one makes more sense to you, use that one, okay? It can either be y minus 4 equals negative 1/2 times x minus 2 if I use the second point, or if I use the first point, it would be y minus 2 equals negative 1/2 times x minus 6. So either one of those is fine, this one or that one. They look different, they're really the same line. Okay? How we doing? We're almost there. Okay, here's what we're gonna do with this part. Draw in a vertical line.
On any point?
No, 1, 2, 3, at negative 4. Okay, vertical line there. Draw in a horizontal line at y equals negative 3.
That's negative 4, right? For a vertical line.
The vertical was negative 4. The horizontal was negative 3. Okay, if we're going to write the equation of the purple line, what I want you to think about is, where is that purple line? Not where is that purple line. What doesn't change on that purple line? The slope doesn't. What's the slope? Undefined. Okay. But one of your values, your x or your y, never changes. The x, right? Think about these points. This is negative 4, 0, negative 4, 1, negative 4, 2, negative 4, 3, negative 4, 4, right? Your x value is always negative 4. That's the equation of that line. Okay? Now look at the horizontal. 0, negative 3, 1, negative 3, 2, negative 3, 3, negative 3, 4, negative 3, 5, negative 3. What never changes? Your y value now stays the same, right? So the equation of the red line is y equals negative 3. So this is this line, that is that line, okay? Here's the rule. When you are working with a horizontal line, it is always y equals whatever number your y value is at, okay? When you are working with a vertical line, it's always x equals whatever number your x falls at, okay? So if I were to put a horizontal and vertical line through those 2 points, my 2 equations would be one line, my vertical line would be x equals 3, because my x value is 3, and my y equals, my horizontal line, would be y equals negative 2. Okay, so what would the 2 equations be for 6, 4? X equals what? X equals 6 would be what kind of line? Vertical, right? And then y equals what? Y equals 4 would be what kind of line? Horizontal, okay? Here's how I always tell people to remember it. Y equals, if you flip over a y, it kind of looks like an H for horizontal, or you can do oi vux. Is that what it was? Vertical is undefined x. I know it sounds terrible. It's not a bad word. It's VUX, people. VUX. Oi, horizontal, 0, y equals. I like that. I've never heard that before. Okay, so HOY, horizontal is 0 and y equals, vertical is undefined, x equals, okay?